This is RackAddicts After Hours.
Hello, welcome to what has become the RackAddicts After Hours booth in our favourite pub. We're all pretty tired, and it's the post-NAMM. We've had all the announcements, all of that good stuff, and lovely B words to talk about today. I'm joined by our usuals, Pete, Andy, and we've actually got Telmo in today. We're now fully equipped with microphones, headphones, all round. So where do we want to start, folks?
Do we want to start with the B word, or do
we might as well get the B word out of the way.
Yeah, let's just get it done. I mean, we sound really ungrateful, don't we, when it's just like, oh, should we start with the people? Oh, these guys are making these really affordable products that, you know, everyone can have, and it's really classic. So, oh, they've done another. Let's go with the B word.
Lovely stuff.
Okay, so Behringer, it was a sort of pseudo announcement because it was just teasing because they're still in development with it. But,
always a tease.
Maybe it was a sort of in response to the Korg release, possibly.
Oh yeah,
just get wet.
It does seem a bit too convenient that they decide to drop this little bombshell. 4 days after Korg announced
bit longer, but it's pretty. The timing is suspicious. Maybe they had it on the cards and they went, oh no, we've got to, quick, put something out there.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, considering that we're looking at potentially, I don't know, another 4 to 6 months before this is even finished.
Time frames just don't exist on these things.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if we're going to see one of these.
It feels like they're
this year.
basically.
I've been cynical. I mean, possibly we will do towards the sort of tail end of the year potentially. But yes, so they've announced their version of the ARP 2600.
Rack mount 19-inch,
yes.
Which is new because it's been either standalone or Eurorack format so far. So that's a new kind of form factor for them. The one omission that it's kind of saddening is I don't think there's real springs for the reverb. I think it's just going to be they're lumping a Clark Technic.
Yeah, I was going to say they're going to put the Clark Technic thing in.
Or the speakers.
Or the speakers, yeah, there's no room on that front panel,
either.
is there?
Well, I mean, yeah.
Speakers are kind of endearing, even if they don't sound very good, but they're a cool thing. And because they're spaced nicely, you do get a bit of stereo if you're patching right, which is kind of fun.
My suspicion is going to be one of those units that's going to be a lot smaller than you expect it to be when you see one in the flesh, because if it's only 19 inches wide, it's not physically going to be a lot bigger than the Odyssey.
No, I don't think it will. What's the U? How many units are we on?
Well, looking at it offhand, sort of give a U judgment. I don't know, sort of.
Andy's got the eyes.
I would have said 4 to 5. Maybe
a bit more than that.
You think
5 or 6?
I think it might even be 8 because the 6U.
It might be 8U. Just trying to think. Looking at it, that looks like 2U.
5 to 8, I would say.
6 at least.
6 at least, maybe. Yeah, fine.
Place your bets, everyone.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And also, as with all the other Behringer tributes,
clone.
I've got to say they've changed the design somewhat, and the gentleman that featured on their video, who's the engineer that's been key to this process, was extolling the fact that a lot of the components are surface mount. So the tolerances are much better, the power consumption is much less, the stability is much better.
Yeah, how notorious was the original for just, a lot of synths will just break down and specific components will die. Do you know how well the original's held up? So just general weirdness.
I'm not personally that au fait with their reliability, but I would imagine that there's other aspects about their ability to stay in tune and so forth. Anything with electronics that's sort of early to mid-70s is going to be through-hole type components and not of the quality of components that we can get hold of today.
Yeah, I mean, if they'll be hand assembled, so a dodgy solder join might go over time or something.
Yeah, well, you're going to start getting dry joints and so forth, and cracking and breaking, and maybe I would imagine it's only single-sided, the boards, with the they're not going to be multi-layered, not in the original anyway.
Yeah. But no, that's all kind of advantages for all modern synthesizers, I guess, all that modern manufacturing kind of stuff. So you said that the guy, Mr. Giebel,
yes,
he'd been making Eurorack modules, and that's how it kind of kicked off.
Yeah, it doesn't state it on the what I have here, but he had his own range of Eurorack modules where he was taking individual components or the designs from the ARP 2600 and doing Eurorack versions, and then he took those skills to Behringer.
Nice. That's a handy little thing.
Definitely help him reach a wider audience, even if it's no longer his brand or anything.
Yeah, I mean, that's what he specified, that he was only able to, with the Eurorack, he was only able to make several hundred versions of any particular thing that he was building, whereas via Behringer, he could make thousands, possibly an infinite amount of these things. And he felt that his talents are going to reach a lot more people.
Yeah, it's kind of cool to see. My hope is not really knowing how slimy the inner workings of the Behringer, the Music Tribe company, hoping he doesn't get kind of ripped off in any way, because obviously he's just this one talented guy. Hopefully gets treated fairly in that kind of deal.
I don't know, understand. I have no appreciation of what the scenario is there. And they typically, a lot of the work they've been doing is led by British engineers. I certainly know the deep mine was definitely a couple of British engineers, and I suspect possibly many of the other units were.
Well, with the Wasp was an English synth. Is the Octave Cat another English one? Because I thought that was a really weird left field choice. So maybe the decision to do that was led by the English engineers. I'm going to go and get on the googly boy, because I want to see where it is Octave, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Octave Cat.
Yes, it is.
We'll see where that is.
While you're just having a look at that, I heard there was another one, an Angel.
Well, that was that was the terminology that the gentleman from Behringer used. He was unpacking it. It's basically a set of flanges or brackets that you can tie together your, let's say, your Model D and your Neutron, and all the variety of units that they've brought out that are in the kind of single row.
That kind of typical thing now.
Yeah, so again, the Wasp and the Cat and so forth. So there's two widths.
Yeah.
So the Neutron is wider than the Model D. So there's one width. I can't remember how many HP wide they are. Yeah. And then you've got the slightly wider. And this set of brackets can expand.
Oh, that's cool.
So it can accommodate any of those.
In theory, it works for any module that Behringer's been using.
Any of the ones that are in the Eurorack type format, or even I think it's the 104 HP, the large case.
Could I put a DFAM
was
in
Moog doing that?
Yes, they've got their own one.
Yeah, they're very similar to the one that the
That's what I said. Could I put a DFAM in it?
Yeah, you could probably. Fact-checking time. The Octave Cat is an American synth, and it's quite Odyssey-like, apparently. Anyway, back to the Angel Wings.
Wasn't that the one where the Odyssey people sort of suggested that they'd been copied?
Oh, quite likely. I mean, just visually it looks very similar.
Everyone, I think, is throwing around suggestions that they've been copied in one capacity or another when Behringer's involved in the question.
Totally.
Well, I mean, clearly with the IP on any of this stuff that they're reproducing now is not under any sort of patents or anything, because they'd be skating into too much. I know they're making subtle design changes, and maybe they're sort of skating very close to the threshold of
very close.
But I would suspect that a lot of this stuff is either out of patent, or the original manufacturers weren't using their own intellectual property when they were putting together these units. They were harvesting designs from.
Yeah, it's a bit of a kind of what goes around comes around.
in other cases, the old company just doesn't exist anymore anyway. Yeah,
that's also true.
It's quite possible. But in a lot of cases, the IP still transferred to somebody else. But I'm umming a lot.
Humming. We always like a bit of humming. Angel wing thingies, I did see in the video, they are kind of adjustable sideways, so you could potentially put any case of that kind of format. I know loads of people do those, so you could probably put DFAM in it. You could, if you felt like it, because it's cheaper than the Moog kits.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to with that ARP 2600 being able to rack mount that boy.
Nice. It would with the LEDs, the coloured LEDs, it would look pretty cool actually as well.
So do you really feel you're going to be getting one of these, Andy?
I don't know. I'm humming and hawing still. I want some of that Odyssey ARP goodness-esque thing in my life. I know that because I enjoy with the Odyssey programming it. I like the challenge.
Yeah, because it is a bit weird.
It is a pain in the backside to do. Do I think I'd wait for the 2600 or get the ARP or get the Odyssey? I'm still inclined to get the Odyssey, to be honest, because it's got the keys, which I quite like.
A little more accessible for your
2600,
clients, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. I still think that's a bit of a, like, that's going to be a pain anyway. But I think the 2600, I don't know when it's going to come out. I don't know how much it's going to cost.
I'm thinking we won't see them till September.
Yeah. I don't think September either.
Even
I'm
later,
thinking it's going to be around about the £600 mark.
I was just about to say, what do we think on price?
Yeah, £600, £800 would be my.
I would say sort of sub 800.
Yeah, 8's definitely going to be the max.
It could be even shockingly less expensive than that. It hasn't got a key bed.
If it was less than that, I would be really surprised and very turned on by it. Why not both? If we get to that point, I was saying to you the other day, on Friday, that I feel once I finally make that step into getting it, that's it, I'm done for. It will just be like, oh yeah, no, I think, yeah, go on, I'll get that. What's it going to add? It's going to add something, so let's have it. I think the Odyssey is probably more on my list of things to do. It's more accessible, like you say, because it's got the keyboard and you can start
slightly more familiar than a just blank, well, not blank, but flat rack panel with sliders on it.
Looks a little bit more intimidating. That's the kind of thing where it's like, no, go on, I'll give it a go. I'll see what we can do.
And the Odyssey's got the effects.
And the Odyssey has the effects as well. Yeah, that's very true.
And the sequencer.
Yeah, I like the sequencer.
Where this has got none of that.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it. Right, let's bail out of the B word, because we always cover it. Telmo's going to help us out today with some of the NAMM stuff that we definitely didn't see because we're not guitar-y boys. What do you got?
Well, I certainly can help you with that. So, quite interesting stuff as usual. Apart from, the usual Victor Wooten's meditation is music talks that everyone knows, and
I don't know.
All the musicians adore. Getting Victor Wooten involved. It's very famous bass player.
I know him, but that's all I've got.
I don't even know him. Who is he?
You need to check him out.
Why am I whispering?
Tell me. Insane bass player.
Yeah.
A reference for both guitar players, for all musicians really. It's just because of his knowledge and so accessible for everyone. Just to listen to him is a joy. But this is more of the social side of NAMM. NAMM is really about the products. And what really struck me in terms of some of the guitar world is how far guitar pedals are going. And really going crazy, like the range effects made in the UK here. They've run an overdrive running on liquid. So.
Oh, I think I heard about this.
Man.
Because it's sorry to interrupt. I'm right in thinking that if you put a different liquid in with a different viscosity, it will change the sound of what it's playing through.
Exactly.
That's cool.
I was discussing this with Telmo just before we started. My gut feeling is, because if you watch the video, they've got these little capsules that you can kind of fill up with whatever, plop it in the pedal and stuff happens. I'll be really, really disappointed if all they're doing is shining an LED through it and having a sensor on the other end, because that's if they're passing some kind of current through it, it'd be really, really cool.
Yeah.
But if it's just, here we're shining an LED at it.
There's some sticky situations, because I'm just trying to think of all of the stuff that I'd run through it. And I wouldn't definitely
keep those thoughts to yourself, man. I don't want to know.
Program for children. Well, it works on the texture, the viscosity of the liquid, and the color. So obviously the light that goes through, and the how it goes through. So how the material feels. So it's basically an overdrive. It can become a fuzz. It can be plenty of different stuff. It's basically an experience, that kind of like an experimentation that they're doing. It's not out just yet, but we should totally keep an eye on that.
Should be pretty cool. I think in the video they had one with Jägermeister in it, which is kind of cool.
I was thinking more like Tears of My Enemies.
Going a little spiritual on it as well.
That kind of thing.
I don't think they had that in there.
Oh, it's okay. I can harvest those, no problem.
Shed a little tear on me, my friend. Another one that's very exciting is the light pedal by
Game Changer.
Nice. Yeah. The light pedal is a reverb pedal, and you, Pete, you've seen this and you're also very excited about it as much as I am.
I found it quite interesting. So it's a spring reverb, a mono spring reverb, but what made it so different, they were using infrared, which they're shining directly onto the reverb spring, and that's how they're gleaning some of the effects. I wasn't quite sure whether...
It's a little bit... were they a bit tight-lipped on exactly how it kind of worked, because UV on a spring.
Well, infrared. So infrared
okay.
shining across the spring.
Yeah.
And somehow the contortions of the spring are being sensed by the sensor that's picking up the infrared on the other side of the spring. So that's as far as I...
But is it a digital
Yeah.
process? Is it using that data from the spring to work out how it interacts with the convolution?
I
or is
suppose if you're capturing the light, you've got to turn it into some sort of digital processing at some point, but you still have the spring.
Yeah, but
So
if I kick it, does it make a sound?
it does,
Oh, cool.
because it
That's fine.
still has the spring.
Yeah, but
I guess.
this is what I'm trying to
we
get
try
at.
and
Is it does it work in the sense? No, obviously it doesn't if it's using infrared. But a regular spring reverb, correct me if I'm wrong, it's just a spring that you run audio through, and it has a microphone on one end that you amplify the sound of, and that's
Pretty
your
much.
spring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
Now, how does that work?
So, yeah, a very analog device then
Yeah.
with this infrared sort of sensor. So I'm not too sure whether they're using it in a traditional way and then adding something else with the infrared, or the infrared is the way
thing.
they're sensing the shimmering
Which
or
would
whatever.
then go through a convolution, right? And that would be essentially what feeds the data to the convolution
Yes.
chip. Right.
Well,
okay.
according to Game Changer's audio website, this is what they say about it. It takes a lot of energy to transfer an audio signal across the length of a vibrating spring. By the time the source audio signal reaches the spring tank's output transducer, most of its nuanced harmonic contact will be lost, converted into mechanical energy. This is why spring reverbs have such a particular sound. So therefore, it's basically, they say the light pedal uses extremely sensitive optical pairs placed at specific regions of the spring to detect very nuanced movement on the spring's surface.
Oh, right. Oh, no, I see what they're trying to do. They're just trying to make it like a really hi-fi spring rather than just the kind of weird lo-fi, slightly dodginess of a physical one. That is kind of cool.
Precisely.
Yeah, if you're not familiar with Game Changer Audio, I think their tamest pedal is this kind of sustain pedal looking thing. What does it actually do? Tell me, do you know about that sustain thing? What does that do?
The theory behind that, it's basically a piano sustain pedal for guitar players. It works in the same way. You press it as you would be playing the piano. So it allows you to sustain a certain note or a chord and play over on top. It works pretty much like the Electro-Harmonix Freeze, if you.
Oh yeah.
If you.
So as you'd expect for a sustain device, but they've also got the plasma drive, the distortion pedal that has this really cool lightning plasma tube on the front, which
cool.
I have no need for, but desperately want.
It looks
and they do the
so
19.
There's a 19-inch rack one which has a big plasma
It's
tube.
big old boy in it,
So is the
yeah.
plasma tube actually doing the distorting, or is it
Yeah,
just a sort of
apparently
gimmicky kind of...
No, the audio is actually passed through the tube, and it
That
is
must
that's
come
where
out
the
So,
distortion comes.
your signal is passing through the plasma discharge, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's pretty neat. They
must
sound
be
really,
gnarly, man.
really bright.
And they've used the
And-
same principle for
Yeah.
collaborating with Jack White as well. So they've designed a fuzz, kind of like radio transistor kind of fuzzy sound as well, within the same principle. So that was after.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's really cool. I always like to describe distortions in terms of like a grain size, like if it's like icing sugar to gravel, and like some fuzzes might be really chunky gravel, and like one of those really smooth, fizzy kind of high gain amps might be kind of a slightly chunky sand.
Yeah.
But the plasma drive would be, let's say, gravel, but made out of cacti, maybe, because it's really sharp, it's really gritty, and has a lot of
Sounds like you're walking
chunky
on glass,
texture.
right?
That's a pretty good one. It's all of that all
Yeah.
at once. They've also got Game Changer Audio also have a synth that makes sounds with motors.
Okay.
Was that the one with the spinning...
The spinny doodads, yeah. I don't know if it's out yet. They had a prototype which was a big keyboard with all these motors in it. So naturally, because of the trying to spin up a motor and change its speed to get a note, there is a lot of portamento involved, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
And they've got that kind of sort of cocky name, Game Changer, but
Yeah.
they are genuinely making some fascinating stuff.
They
Yeah.
are
that's
changing
cool.
the game. That's what they're doing.
I was certainly very enthusiastic. The NAMM videos I saw with them in it, they were very exuberant about their products.
Yeah. Definitely.
And, quite rightly. So I thought there was also a desktop version of that synth, possibly.
Yes, there is. That's the one that they've mostly been carrying around. I think there's only one of those.
And it's still
keyboard things.
in the prototype stage, or was it a Kickstarter, or how?
I can't remember. I think it might have been kick-started, but it's definitely not out yet.
Okay.
That's been touted for
Good
quite
while.
long, good 18 months, 2 years, possibly.
Somewhere
maybe
around that
maybe
kind of
longer,
time
because I
frame.
remember seeing one and thinking, oh, is that something I should be?
Yeah, my concern is just the reliability, just because you've got physical moving parts that are going a lot. That's the only thing.
Yeah, a small company like that, they could sort of, you get the thing, they go south, it breaks. You've got no way of fixing.
They looked like very conventional, little DC motors that you might get in, model kits and things. Nothing too fancy, so I imagine they're not the worst things to replace.
Yeah.
And they're continuously spinning at various speeds.
In the videos that I've seen them, they don't stop spinning, as far as I'm aware.
So how are they deriving the signal?
So let's say you spin them up when the synth turns on, and they'll spin at a rate that when they use kind of whatever picks up the sound from them, that when they're not assigned a note, let's say they just spin at C0, for instance, and then maybe you press a note and it will spin the first one, because it's an 8-voice thing, 8 oscillator thing.
So each spinning motor is an oscillator?
So
yes, exactly. That's the oscillator source. That's what they do.
it sounds like, in principle, when we first started up at the studio and we had the soldering iron and some spare time, we hooked a jack cable to...
It's exactly like this, and this is a good story.
Kieran hooked the jack cable to the motor of the spinning HHD drive, and you'd spin that and it would oscillate from basically 1 hertz up to around about 120, and you just get a sweeping sub. Is that the same kind of thing?
It's almost identical.
Cool.
But then addressable with keys, so you can actually make music with it.
Nice. Very cool.
Beautiful.
It sounds really cool.
I don't actually know if it sounds beautiful. I can't really remember. But it will be interesting at the very least.
Look at us getting all distracted with synths again. What more guitar stuff have we got in the world?
Well, so we've been through the Game Changer stuff. It's a small company. Small companies are a massive thing at NAMM as well. And so it's one of those things. It's very important to mention small companies. Fender and Gibson, yes, they're doing what people want. They're delivering what people want.
And that means they're being really boring.
They're being
Admittedly,
very boring.
Epiphone looked really cool from everything that I've heard this year.
Well, you've got the Kalamazoo headstock,
Kalamazoo,
all right.
da-do-be-dee-doo,
That's cool. That's cool.
da-be-dee-bobbity-doo.
What else are they doing differently? The guitars still play the same way.
I mean, that's the same for all guitars, isn't it? They're all played the same.
with fingers.
Did we touch on the hollow bodied Fender last week, or have we mentioned
the Acoustasonic?
Oh,
yes.
Not quite sure. I wasn't here last.
I don't believe we did. So did you want to tell
the previous week?
Yeah. Did you want to tell us about?
Yes, we did. Yeah. I can recap that. Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So it's basically so last year they released the Acoustasonic, which is essentially a telly it's got a hollow. It's basically a box that makes acoustic sounds. It's got a couple of pickups, and it also sounds like an electric Telecaster. This year they did exactly the same thing for the Strat.
Okay.
That's pretty much it. End of story.
They're very Marmite. Telmo, what do you reckon on the looks? Because I think they are the most disgusting guitars I've ever seen.
I think they look good.
Ooh,
I
I
like the sort of pastel ones that they were doing, like the sort of surf colours. I thought that worked really well.
The colour's good, but overall looks, I can't take it.
I like the chocolatey ones, ones that that
I saw one that was, I think it was the Strat, that was just a complete wood grain finish, and that I thought was Oggo. But the pastel, like, kind of surfer duty thing, I like those. I'm a sucker for anything that Fender does that looks remotely kind of 60s, 50s-esque thing. I don't like bright, bold colours. I like the sort of offset.
And that's why I say they're delivering what people want from the brand. However, I do think that, like, guitar brands like Fano, they're becoming more accessible now. They used to be a boutique, very high-end kind of guitar brand. They're now reaching to bigger audiences with more affordable lines, signature lines. We've got Toes in Abazi, we've got Ibanez, we've got the Yvette Young signature Instagram guitarists. They're pretty much what's all about.
You were saying something interesting before we got started with the signature guitars. I was just wondering what you were kind of thinking with that and how it's slightly changed. Because I know that Ibanez, Fender, Gibson, they all, well, I wouldn't say they rely on it at all, but they have their own range of acoustic, not acoustic, of signature guitars that they use and that are instantly identifiable. But you were saying something that you thought it was going to change, or that the market is changing. Go on.
The market has changed. It's because nowadays we perceive guitar heroes differently than what we were perceiving back in the day. We're not focusing so much on the Eric Clapton, on the Jimmy Page, on the Jimi Hendrix reissue, which they still happen.
Yeah, go sitting back 40 grand.
Exactly. Prices are rising. That's pretty much it. But small brands, because there's more variety and the growth of Instagram and internet, if you call it bedroom guitarists, is really opening the market for obviously different brands to make and give and have a try as well, because there are more guitar heroes than ever. That's why I think it's changing.
Yeah.
Because you are perceiving a guitar hero differently.
Yeah. I mean, it's like you look at
Does that answer your question?
To a degree. I suppose you look at the Chapman brand, for example, which is a signature, and they have signature guitars, but the brand itself is already a signature.
And loads of the signatures are for people who found their fame on YouTube, like Rob Scallon, Rabia Massad, Rob Chapman, obviously.
Yeah.
It's an entirely internet-born thing.
Yes, there's also a massive scandal about Chapman guitar.
Oh yeah, read up on it. It's hilarious.
It's hilarious, but I don't want to get into it. So I mean, I do that. There's a couple of brands that I'm really following, and it's Abaza Guitars is one of them.
Yes.
Despite it's not my kind of guitarist, it's something that I appreciate, being a 7 or 8 string with the fan frets. It's quite
multi-scale
cool
stuff.
Yeah, multi-scale.
Again, there's more controversy in the Abasi guitars world, so go and read up on that if you feel like it. But they do look pretty damn cool. What else you got for us in the guitar world, Telmo?
Guitar world. Let's see. What else have we got? Oh, we've got the continuation of the birth of amp in pedal size. They're basically taking over the world.
Yeah, Orange did one, didn't they?
Yeah, they did, yeah. No one wants actual amps anymore because they're heavy, they're an asshole, no one likes them, they're boring. But it's really cool if you have a little, just a pedal board with your amp in there.
Oh, that's a cool idea, yeah.
Orange released the Terra Stamp and the Bass Butler. So they're both guitar and, respectively, the bass.
Oh,
bass
okay.
amp.
That's cool.
So they're also in the market, along with Victory, along with... what was the other one?
Blue Guitar have been doing that for a while, but they're pretty chunky.
You've got Line 6 as well with the Helix stuff. Yeah.
What with the what's it called? The Terra Stamp. Is that what it is? Stamp. Anyway. Stamp. Are these just Valve preamps, or do they have power amps in them as well?
So they've got a preamp. They've got a tone knob. Basically, it's a shape kind of knob. You've got a volume 1, volume 2, and a gain. It's basically a two, kind of like a 2-channel. You can control your gain individually. I can get some. Oh, it's got an effects loop as well.
Oh, neat.
And cab simulation.
Oh, so yeah, okay. So there's not going to be a power amp in there.
No.
Okay, that's still cool, because if you got a cab simulator in there, you can easily just have an entirely pedal board bound rig that way and just go straight to the front of house and don't worry about, well, you can have a silent stage that way, can't you?
Bingo.
Apart from your drummer.
Yeah.
Well, they can have some E-thumps if they want.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Apart from that, I mean, it's just cool to see what people are doing. It's just... it's a massive world. I mean, MIDI 2.0 as well. I think I've mentioned that a couple of weeks ago. It's a thing going back to
we might have done. I think the only thing that has been confirmed having it as a product that it's MIDI 2.0 compatible. It's that new Roland 88 key controller. I don't really know to what extent it can be leveraged yet, because it's too new, I suppose.
Yeah, you've got to have all the reciprocal equipment that all talks the same language. There's no point in having one thing that talks a certain protocol and nothing else talks it.
Yeah, I imagine it's some of the issues that they face going into 5-pin DIN MIDI anyway, trying to get people to sync up.
Well, it's all USB-C, I believe.
Oh, this one is going to be.
I don't know if 2.0 would run across.
Well, they were keeping the backwards compatibility, but I don't. Yeah,
but
I think
protocol
no. What I meant to say was originally when they started bringing in 5-pin DIN and they tried to make MIDI the uniform standard. I imagine that they're encountering some of the challenges that they had then. Like, oh, but we use this protocol, we use that protocol, but wouldn't it be brilliant if we all use the same one? And I imagine going over to MIDI 2.0 is going to be relatively similar because they're going to have to get all the manufacturers to change what slots they use for.
It won't be as
item.
bad because it's MIDI. It's already established. It's just the new version. Won't be
I
as
suspect
bad.
the majority of them will be USB-C.
Oh, okay. Well, we were saying actually last week.
Yeah,
that,
no, we totally did have that discussion. Yeah.
Yeah, we were saying last week that they're going to have to, as per regulations, move on to USB-C.
Well, that was the phone thing. That was the fact that the European Union are looking to suggest that, or more than suggest, actually legislate that all phones should comport to the USB-C, so that there's a level playing field. But that will just promote, believe Apple to remove all interfaces.
yeah.
And then just go for induction charging and completely wireless headphones, and that'll be it. So you better use your buds or whatever.
I'm already a sucker for the Bluetooth headphones.
I'm in the Bose world and I love it as well. It's really great. Just walking in, just press of one button, you can set it up, and then suddenly the road noise is gone.
That's it. It's a beautiful thing.
As you go on straight under the bus.
Yeah, exactly.
That's an added bonus.
I was going to say, it depends how good the day's gone.
Get me in there.
Oh man, well, I think we've about exhausted NAMM. We do need to get some juicy topics for next week, so stay tuned for that one. Thank you for listening, and we will, you will hear us in the next one. Bye now.